Okay. I think we're back. That was weird. I don't know why the stream just gave up. Todd didn't like that we didn't like it. He's like, oh, that'll teach you. That'll teach you, Luke. How dare you? I don't know what happened. There weren't even any like warnings. There's no dropped frames that I see on my end. Connection didn't drop. It just like turned itself off. Cause like my internet didn't drop. Everything's fine. So I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. Really, really bizarre. But we're back. We're here now. We're good. We're good. Todd's behind it. Yeah, I mean, it is actually really funny how often like streams and tech issues happen when we do anything BGS related. It is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. But anyway, we're back. We're here. All I was saying, I don't know when I cut out. All I was saying is Dragon Age Inquisition, the combat graphics quality, like all of it is rough. Rough, man. But oh, should we do this? Out of the frying pan and into the fryer. You ready? Okay. New segment for Jacob. Al, also thank you for subbing over on Twitch. So, okay, this is just funny. Sorry, this isn't what I was going to talk about. This is just funny. Grand Theft Auto 5 was the best-selling game across Europe in August, ahead of Star Wars Outlaws, while Sony's Concord charted at number 347. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty funny. Anyway. So we got out of the frying pan with the Starfield DLC. We played that for about an hour and my brain is fried. So now what are we going to do? Let's talk about something else that will refresh us with discussions of quality, with discussions of innovation. Let's talk about something that's going to make us happy. A season 3 deep dive into Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. They just dropped this. It launches tomorrow. And I had tabs pulled up prior to this because I wanted to talk about how they were doing absolutely nothing. Like, where is it? Here. Like, their announcements tab hadn't been updated in months. Their patch notes tab hadn't been updated since season 2. Dev updates hadn't been updated since February 9th, which is hilarious. Known issues, May 22nd was the last time they updated it. So I was like, they haven't said anything about this new season. They really are on a skeleton crew. But then while we were playing the Shattered Space DLC, they dropped this. They dropped the new playable character, Lawless, melee weapon pack, okay, guns, Green Lantern and Superman Brainiac fight. That's right, it's another reskin. New shop items, of course, ever-changing Metropolis, and then a Superman Brainiac fight. So they're reusing an already reused boss fight. They already did a Superman Brainiac fight that was a reskin. They are reskinning the reskins now. You cannot make this up. It's unreal. And they posted this like season 3 deep dive thing. But interestingly enough, they have not posted a GIF or video of her movement. And I thought that was weird. But if you go back to like Season of Frozen Hearts, if you go back to like this one, they have this, but they showed clips of how she moved of her in play. So you could actually get a feel for it. And like, okay, so that's how she's going to play. With this one, they didn't. It's just screen caps. And do you want to know, like, okay, Bear in mind, what is the name of this game? Suicide Squad, right? Literally Suicide Squad. How would you sell a new playable character who is joining the Suicide Squad filled with villains, famous villains that are murderers, are thieves? They're not good people, which is why they are villains. How would you sell this in the most cringy way possible? One of Gotham's newest and most ethical thieves. I am not kidding. In the first 8 words, like, they're trying to frame her as an ethical supervillain? What? Because again, it's like, I don't know what it is, like this cringe new thing. Like Fair Game $ also is doing this, where they're like, no, yeah, you're robbing people and like you're stealing from people to take money. That's like the theme of the game is fair games. You are stealing from the rich and the powerful, but it's okay because you're making everything more fair, right? So it's okay to steal in that case. And in this case, it's another instance of this where it's like, no, it's okay for her to steal. She's like an ethical thief, which like maybe I was just raised in like too religious a household or something, but I thought like theft was just bad. I thought we could just agree that being a thief was a bad thing, but I guess now we're reframing it as Gotham's newest and most ethical thief. You can't make this up. Lawless is determined to use the skills of a master criminal that her father taught her to... I swear to... I didn't even read on. I didn't even read on, dude. Look what it says. She's using the skills of her criminal father to redistribute the wealth in her hometown. I swear to God, it's so bad. It is so predictable. It's unbelievable, dude. It's crazy. Oh, good. She's sending a message to the people of Gotham that they don't have to live in fear of the city's out-of-touch elites. This game was made by Warner Brothers, bear in mind. Oh my God, any longer. And her method for spreading this message. Dude, this has to be a prank. This cannot be real life. Her method for spreading this message is to live stream her heists for her adoring fans to see. So I thought it couldn't get worse. They literally made like an influencer who live streams her robberies and burglaries to her adoring fans because she's trying to send a message to the people of Gotham that they don't have to live in fear of the out-of-touch elites. And therefore she's an ethical thief. Like, this is the most Tumblr, I don't even, like, weird, bizarre power fantasy thing I've ever seen. Like, this is crazy. It's Saints Row Reboot 2.0. Yeah, for sure. It's like some weird power trip where they're dreaming of actually doing. I don't know, man. It's breaking my brain. If you hadn't noticed her last name, Zoe's father is none other than Floyd Lawton, aka the squad's very own Deadshot. Zoe eagerly devoured any lesson her dad would teach her, exhibiting the same drive and pragmatism that made him the world's deadliest assassin. That was until his tangle with Green Lantern, which landed him a spot in Arkham Asylum and left Zoe heartbroken at the loss of her role model. But if you were to ask her now, she'd tell you that that's when she had her eyes opened. Having Deadshot locked away allowed Zoe to see the realities of life in Gotham. Oh, that's what woke her up to being so slay, I guess. Away from the rich, comfortable life that her father's crimes had provided for her. While the privileged class in the city were growing richer than ever, the common people were suffering, unable to afford to live in the city that was their home. Once Zoe's eyes were open to this injustice, she knew that she had found her calling, using her talents as a thief for some ... aggressive redistribution in Gotham. And so Lawless was born. We're about to have probably the most insufferable playable character in any game in recent memory. I'm telling you right now. This is going to be tough to stomach. I can already hear the dialogue. I can already hear the quips where she kills some enemy and is like, yeah, take that, capitalism. I can't wait. This is one of those things where, like, when people are like, hey, are you like celebrating the failure of the game? I've tried very hard to be like, no, we're not celebrating the failure of like hard work from artists and stuff. But when you think that the gaming community is going to connect with this, meanwhile, like while your game has been produced by a multi-billion-dollar corporation that's run by some of the most like cutthroat business elites ever, like, I lose all sympathy. This is unbelievable. I cannot believe that they're doing this. At least like Mrs. Freeze was just kind of cringe and then like a needless gender swap. But this is something else. This is crazy. This is like the most preachy like attempt at relating to the student loan rattled kids. Like, it's unreal. But when Brainiac invades Metropolis and word gets out about the most advanced alien technology he's brought along with him, Lawless is unable to resist the allure of the heist of the century. By grabbing as much of this tech as she can and selling it to the highest bidder, just think of the good she'll be able to do back home. But after arriving in Metropolis, she realizes that this is going to mean a reunion with her dad, something she is not looking forward to. Dad Shot, they actually typed that out. Dad Shot won't stop treating her like the vulnerable 13-year-old she was when he got locked up, rather than the 18-year-old super thief she is now. It'll take a while before she's ready to trust him again. But it turns out killing purple aliens is the perfect father-daughter bonding activity. So maybe there's hope for them yet. The biggest unexpected perk for Lawless, however, is the anti-gravity tech she's been able to plunder from Brainiac. After a little repurposing, she's found that she can manipulate gravity at will, allowing her to pull off daring heists she previously only dreamed of. The ability to fly clean over Brainiac's forces doesn't hurt either. Her primary traversal ability changes the direction of gravity for her, allowing her to fall in any direction. This makes for a traversal style that's chaotic and incredibly powerful in the right hands. Okay. And then they have, oh God. Dude, these are the play styles. Influencer, revolutionary, and thief. I cannot believe this is real life. This kitty has claws. For anybody to think that this was good, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I have no words. I have no words. I'm lost. They've broken me. After all this, like I said in my last Suicide Squad video on the big channel, I was like, guys, I don't know if I'm even going to return for season 3 because I don't think there's going to be anything to talk about. Like, I think we're going to boot up and like pretty much have nothing to say. It's just going to be really, really boring. Never in a million years did I think they were going to like, not even double down, but like quintuple down. It's wild to me. And like, it's like I said in the video the other day, it feels like for so many of these games, they never stopped to consider if people like actually wanted this. if this was going to connect with people, if they were going to like it, if they were going to find it interesting. Like, they never stopped to ask, hey, is this a character people want? And more than anything, like, I feel as though there's dev updates maybe. I just want to see the movement. Somebody said the movement is posted somewhere. Maybe over here. I don't know. I think when people are playing games like this, they don't want to be reminded of their student loans. They don't want to be reminded of wealth inequality. They don't want to be thinking about all this stuff. They just want to play a fun video game, for the love of God. Like, why do we have to try to turn everything into like, no, we understand you. Please, like, give us $70, by the way. And then also buy this character for $10. But, you know, once we do that, then we're fine. But it's okay because we made this character that like also hates the rich. So it's okay. It's so insulting. That's the big thing. It's so insulting. They clearly think that you're like, you're so stupid that you're just going to be like, oh, well, they do not, this character do not like the wealthy either. So I will give them lots of money. I'm going to buy their $20 skins and their $10 skins, and I'm going to play it and have so much fun because she slay. Like, it's so insulting. But it shows a lot about what they think of gamers. They think that they would connect with it. I'm becoming visibly upset. Yeah, I am visibly upset. Like, they've had at this point enough time where they could have made a pivot. They could have trimmed a lot of this stuff out, even just in the way that they frame it. But the fact that the way they open this is that she is one of the most ethical thieves. She also is sending a message to the people of Gotham. They don't have to live in fear of the city's wealthy, out-of-touch elites, which is one of the most ironic statements they could have possibly made about this game. Out-of-touch elites, like, Jesus Christ almighty. And then she also is an influencer and live streams her heists for her adoring fans. I will bet you so much money right now that when we try this tomorrow, it's going to be so insufferable. It's just going to be constant quips about, yeah, take that, patriarchy, take that. I don't have the strength for it anymore, dude. I thought we had peaked. I thought the Joker was really rough, and then I thought Mrs. Freeze was also like, okay, the next couple are going to be boring, and then it'll be fine. But again, there was never a question of, do gamers want this? Like, do our fans want this? It was always, no, you're going to play it. You're going to like it. Suicide Squad is one where it's just such a fall from grace for Rocksteady. Anybody who's like, oh, well, they're making a Batman game, it sounds like. You think these people can make a good Batman game? You really think? I guarantee you there'd be whole like segments of the game dedicated to how Bruce Wayne is a billionaire and therefore he's evil. That's probably going to be the whole story, is that Batman's actually the bad guy because he's wealthy. That's going to be the whole thing. I would not even begin to feel any interest or excitement towards a Rocksteady game after seeing how they continue to double and triple down on this stuff. I understand it's a skeleton crew at this point and they can't change this stuff, but even just to continue framing it this way is just insulting. So we'll try it tomorrow. I think we all know how it's going to go. I don't think any of us are expecting it to magically blow us away at this point, but I guess we will see. Oh, man. Yeah, all of Rocksteady's talented artists are gone. Yeah, I mean, I think they're getting out. There's the chance that maybe the owners, so Sefton Hill, Jamie Walker, they were at the top of the pyramid. So if we do like this, you know we have to. If this was Rocksteady, you know, it's the big pyramid. At the very tippy top were Sefton Hill, Jamie Walker, right? The founders of the studio. And then underneath them were some senior level designers and producers and stuff that worked on the Arkham series, Arkham Knight, that type of thing. And then they had some like new hires that had been there through most of Suicide Squad. So these are the people that are dedicated to live service. That's what they specialize in. They hired those people. And then you have a bunch of lower level staff that were new hires, are not very experienced, but, you know, certainly worked their butts off. They just don't have a lot of experience. They didn't work on the Arkham series. They've only worked on Suicide Squad. And then you have like contractors and consultants and stuff like that that's down here that does a lot of the grunt work for these games. And they don't really have that much of a tie-in with the rest of the studio. They work on this project for a year, for 6 months, whatever, and then they leave. So they churn out a lot. Sefton and Jamie left. They took a bunch of these guys with them. So a bunch of this chunk is gone. Leaving now the live service peeps responsible for Suicide Squad. They now are running the studio, and basically all this got shuffled up. So you do not have the old crew, the old guard still at Rocksteady. All the people at the top who worked on those games and understood what made them good are gone. Now you just have the team that did Suicide Squad, the team that looked at this stuff and thought that this was badass. And I don't know, it's the age-old thing. Did they think that gamers actually would like this? That would be worrying if they thought gamers would like that. That shows how little they understand about their own customers. Or did they know that people weren't going to like it, but they didn't care? Because they're like, no, you're going to suck it up and play it and like it. You don't have a choice. Sit down. Get learnt. I don't know which is a better option. Either way, they're either delusional or they're so arrogant and cocky that they think that they're entitled to your fandom and to your money. Either option's not great. But I think regardless, the conclusion is those people, all these people, they're not capable of making a really good Batman game, I don't think. Maybe, but I don't think it's likely. And maybe part of the reason Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker left, maybe it was because they realized that this was happening and they just decided to bail because they're like, we can't salvage the company now. I mean, honestly, that's not a crazy idea. Maybe they just realized, hey, all of this is like built around this game that we know is going to flop, because they left in like late 22 before the full public reveal. But I think they knew what they had and they knew it wasn't going to be good. If they thought it was going to pop off, they would have stayed, made all that money. You don't bail on a ship that's about to go find the pot of gold. You bail if you think it's a waste of time. So they bailed, and I think it's because they knew what they had, and they just realized that this huge chunk of purple zits, they couldn't salvage this. So they decided to bail and move on, which still is a slimy thing to do as somebody that founded the studio and is pretty much responsible for all of this. But it very well could have been that they were just like, we're never going to get to make it with this team, so let's just start over. Maybe, Warner Brothers executives pushed them to bring in a lot of these people, these consultants, these contractors that did this stuff, and they just decided to bail before they were in too deep. I don't know. It's really bad, though. Oh, man. Yeah. This is better than just giving up like Concord. Concord, allegedly what they're doing is they're trying to reevaluate options. And I think the odds are pretty high that they do a free-to-play launch, or they're going to bring like a single-player mode or a story mode or something. They're going to do something to try and salvage it. They've spent too much money to just throw it away. So I think we see Concord again. I just think they realized, hey, it's not doing anybody any good to pretend as though Concord's actually doing well when it has a few hundred players. So let's just reset, try to figure out how we can make it successful and move on. It'd be like if Suicide Squad, if after the first week they were like, you know what? We hear you guys. Let's just reevaluate, and then they re-release it like next month. But it's just, what a mess. What an absolute mess. I can't believe it. I'm like reeling. It's just so insulting. Studios that treat gamers and people like they're stupid. It's one of my pet peeves. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Makes me so angry. But anyway, enough of that. This has been a rough day so far. Man, we start with like a kind of rough DLC and then we move right into that. Oh God, what am I doing to myself? Why so much negativity? Yeah, dude, for real. So negative. Wow. Should we talk about something that makes us feel happy? Should we do that? I tried to find like a comprehensive thing here, but we're gonna have to do it this way. So let's do this. Full screen. News segment. E3 cringe. That would make me happy. I'll tell you what. How many of you guys saw the Death Stranding 2 footage from Tokyo Game Show? There's a lot of it. It's actually very hard to find full, like, comprehensive looks at the stuff that they showed off, surprisingly enough. I don't know if they're planning on doing it later for like a big marketing push, but you can't actually find just like a full YouTube video of all of the stuff that they had. It's like people cutting trailers together to make it look new, but it's not. It's very, very weird. But as you would expect, it's just as surreal as you would have thought. There's even more craziness that they've shown. It's just pure Kojima, pure wackiness. Like the tar cat, the weird tears, like it is peak Kojima. I'll tell you what. I saw people saying, just imagine trying to explain this to like your mom. Just try to explain what's happening in this scene to somebody who has never seen anything Kojima or Death Stranding related. And they're going to have trouble. Like, just imagine, hey, mom, look at this. And this is what she sees.
So what's your role in all this?
Me? I make sure Drawbridge's grand plans go off without a hitch.
So you're the commander?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only.
Child's name.
I don't know how I would explain it. It's insane. It is a look into the mind of a madman. But it's weirdly fun and like chill. It's odd. It's confusing. There's a lot of emotions. There's also a new character in these stories that you might recall. It's a puppet. A puppet. He's here for some reason. I will say the Decima engine, Kojima and his crew, they've done some work. Like the lip syncing is way better, it seems. Facial animations are improved.
In the place where I came from, no one gave birth to babies. They just stayed inside their mother's bellies.
Rainy.
Well, in our world, babies are born and grow up to be adults. Or at least they're supposed to.
It's only natural that Tamara wouldn't understand. After all, she was living in the realm of the dead. I wouldn't expect children to be born into such a place.
What the hell is a puppet doing? Like, it's so insane. It's just a freaking acid trip. Imagine trying to play this game while baked just a little. Even in a lottle. It's got to be scary. Nobody has to reveal themselves, okay? Nobody has to do that. But I imagine there's somebody out there who's tried to like pop acid or something crazy and then play like Death Stranding or watch these trailers. It's got to be just the most insane trip ever. Like for real, right? It's got to be insane. Because I'm cold sober. What is it? What's the term? Stone cold sober? Stone cold sober. I have no idea what's happening as is. And already I feel like I'm losing my mind. It's crazy. Yeah, all this to deliver mail. Yeah, that's what makes it even crazier though. It's like, it's one thing if this were like full on horror game and it's like a stealth, like suspense thriller horror game, kind of like an Outlast or something. Then all of this would kind of fit with that vibe. But what makes Death Stranding so interesting to me is that it's this acid trip mixed with one of the most, for me at least, calming and relaxing gameplay systems of recent memory. I play Death Stranding when I want to just chill. When I want to just vibe, you know, it's rainy or it's snowy outside and I want to just go deliver some packages. That's just what I want to do. You know, that's all I need to do. That's when I play Death Stranding, even though it's like totally insane in every way imaginable narratively. It's still really relaxing. So it's that contrast that I actually think helps it. I actually think it helps it. It's an exhausting story, but with some relaxing gameplay, and it actually kind of balances out. I think so.
Rainy's baby will be born, right?
In due time, of course. Isn't that so?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Raindrops are falling on my head. And just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed,
Nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking to the sun.
Oh, that was terrible.
I thought it was pretty good, actually.
This is what I've realized though. Kojima stuff, it's way more enjoyable when you just kind of can turn your brain off, okay? When you can turn your brain off, you can actually have a pretty good time. You don't take it that seriously. I've seen the videos of people trying to connect like all the lore together, trying to do this, trying to do that, and they end up just like tying themselves up into knots, you know? If you just kind of shrug and go, I have no idea what's happening. Like, it seems like he just was like, sure, you sing now. Sing, and then he looks in his Spotify playlist. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Sing that. And then they sing it. And he's like, yeah. And then we'll have a puppet. And he'll be on your belt loop like Mimir in God of War. But yeah, I'm totally not getting the idea from that. And then you'll be pregnant and talk about how like babies normally just never are born. That sounds cool. And then what if we had like a cat, but the cat was like made out of tar? And then like, what if we also did something where like you randomly start crying? And what if you had a scarf that was made of hands? Like the dude's just out of his mind. And when you play it like that, you can actually have a pretty good time. But when people play it and I think start looking for the deeper meanings and reasonings, they'll drive themselves insane. Just like the people that are looking through old like books of hieroglyphics trying to discover the true meaning of the universe through it, when in reality it's some Egyptian's shopping list from 3,500 years ago. There's not much depth there. You can try to find it, but you're not going to, you know? And if you just enjoy it for what it is, which is insanity, you can actually have a really good time with it. And I think that's what I've learned from it. Back when this first dropped, Death Stranding, the original game in 2019, I was trying to look at it like it made more sense, like it was part of some grand narrative and plan. And I played through the whole thing and I tried my darndest to piece it together. But it's it's just crazy. It's just crazy, you know? And I think you can have a lot more fun playing through it that way than if you try to make it make sense.
So you'll be a mother who gives birth to her baby.
Novel.
And I just can't wait.
It's weird that every time she touches it, the chimes play. I don't know what that's a reference to.
Talk about terrible, Sam. I've heard dogs with better tones.
This game is going to be a lot. Just a lot. They showed some other footage. We see, of course, our friend Heartman. He's wearing glasses now. Oh my goodness. Oh, my wife just brought in little Ori in his, is that a monkey costume? Is that what it is? Oh, you look good.
He put it on, the first thing he did is fell and then bit his lip, and so I checked it out
Oh.
and blood on it for the last 5 minutes.
You look great. You look great.
Monkey?
We're getting all the costumes ready for Halloween. It's that time of year. I love you. You look great. When he gets really excited, he gets very quiet. It's just, you look great. I like your tail too. Oh wow. That's fantastic. Sorry, distraction. And then he sucks up his tears. So again, just came in the same vein. It's like, oh, it's young Elton John.
Hartman?
Heartman.
You're looking well, Sam. Thank you for coming. Oh. It's been a while.
Ticker still holding up?
Thanks to this support unit, I can flatline anytime, anywhere, without worry. No need for beds and the like either. I can sleep standing up. Not bad, eh?
What does that mean? No idea. I've no clue. I'm just as confused now. One thing that I'm not confused about, though, is their idea for a photo mode. They're actually doing something a little bit different than what most other games do. Most other games, you know, just kind of freezes the game and then you get to take your picture. This is what they do now. This is what they're doing. They just set all the characters to like start posing together, and then it's like a Polaroid thing. So Sam has the actual camera, which is just different. It's a funny way of doing it. I don't know if this is like actually what people who do photo mode stuff are looking for. Like this seems like a very casual focused one. Hopefully they have a more traditional photo mode available as well. Because one thing like people who do photo mode are really good at is they set the position of the characters, they line them up perfectly, they get the lighting just right. It's like it's an art. I mean, the people that are really good at photo mode stuff are stupid talented, and they also have to have very fine control over that stuff. And I think having characters constantly moving would probably drive them crazy. But I don't read Japanese, which I think this is. So I don't know if this is something that you'll be able to like turn off and toggle to just the normal mode or what, but I guess time will tell. Either way, that's a thing they're doing, is having these like dynamic things. This guy, I have in my life, I've never seen a better photo mode in any game ever. It depends. Like, again, I think for casual gamers that just want to quickly pop into photo mode and get a couple quirky photos, this could be really, really good. But for the people I've seen that like go hard for photo modes, this would probably drive them crazy because they want to precisely line things up. And for like me, if I'm going into photo mode to take a picture for a thumbnail or something, this would drive me crazy because I need to line things up very carefully, and like this would send me up the wall. But hopefully they have a more traditional one also available where you can like freeze time and do stuff that way. Again, sounds really cool, but when you start using it for specific use cases, it might get annoying. Okay. So anyway, there's that. Let's see. That's kind of like the whole thing that they revealed at Tokyo Game Show. They showed some other stuff off that I've not been able to dig up, but the other thing is that Kojima said that it is releasing in 2025, but that they were not able to release or announce the release date at Tokyo Game Show for like whatever unforeseen circumstances, whatever, blah blah blah. So what that means, I'm not really sure, but I think most likely it just means that there we go. I think it means that they probably are waiting for like special PS5 Pro enhancement, advertising, whatever stuff. So I think that that's probably what they signed a deal with Sony for. I think that's what it is. That's my expectation. Yeah. He's not done cooking. Oh yeah, he's still working his butt off. He's still going crazy. Okay. Speaking of going crazy, there is 30 minutes roughly of footage, and then there's also a preview posted by IGN for Hell Is Us. This is one of the first games that was shown off at the Sony State of Play, and now we actually see a look at the game and how insane it is. Let's see for ourselves.
Let's get this one out of the way. Hell Is Us isn't a Souls-like, nor is it an open world game. Instead, it aims to separate itself from other action adventures by emphasizing investigation and discovery, ushering you to get lost in its weirdness. That's exactly what happened to me during my 2-hour hands-on with developer Rogue Factor's latest, an arresting mixture of medieval and sci-fi aesthetics set against a 90s European Civil War backdrop. I enjoyed its approach to tense melee combat encounters and information gathering puzzles, but what excites me the most is what I don't know, where its intriguing story will lead me next.
This is the game everybody was comparing to Death Stranding. They're like, ooh, it's Death Stranding with better combat. You know, I don't know if that actually ends up playing out. Maybe he'll bring up the comparisons. But I always get a little anxious when I hear the term like intriguing story, because a lot of people use that term to just mean a story that doesn't make any sense right now. I'm intrigued and I want to see where it goes. I hope there are actual answers, because nothing is more frustrating than playing a game or watching a movie or a novel thinking, oh, this is intriguing. This is confusing. I wonder where it's going. And they don't actually have an answer. I've used the comparison a lot. Lost, the old school Lost show from like 2004, 2005, where all these interesting plot points were set up, all these plot hooks, all these cool things, and it didn't go anywhere, probably because of the writer's strike that happened in like 2008, but still, it didn't go anywhere, and it was such a letdown because there was such an intriguing story, but they had no idea how to cause any of it to pay off. Like, there was just no explanation planned. They kind of went, it's a dream, and that was it. It was so stupid. I'm still upset about it 15 years later. Anyway, with this, you know, there's other examples like Death Stranding. I think a lot of it doesn't really make sense, but you can enjoy that game if you kind of turn your brain off to the story in a lot of ways. If you just stop trying to make it make sense, you can enjoy it. And I think with this, it just depends on how to do it. Because if you take it seriously, take the story seriously, and then there is a payoff and they have planned for it, it can be an amazing payoff. But if it's the other side where you try to take the story seriously, but there is no payoff and it's just nonsensical weirdness, that can be very frustrating, at least for a gamer like me. But either way, I get nervous when I hear it's a confusing story that's intriguing. I'm like, okay, that's good, but I hope they actually have a plan for it and they're not just doing weird stuff for the sake of doing weird stuff. Anyway, it's kind of beside the point. It looks super trippy and very unique, which I appreciate.
Hell Is Us is one of the bleaker games I've played in a while. Upon entering a village surrounded by muddy marshland, I'm greeted by a mass grave, bodies hanging from a tree, and the yearnful strings of a local's violin.
I also find it beautiful. Look, I mean, not the dead bodies, of course, but like, just look at the beautiful gradations of fog off into the distance, the god rays coming through the trees. It is. I mean, I know this is alpha footage, so maybe it gets upgraded or even degraded, but I'm loving the vibe, you know, the tone. The mud on the ground is beautifully done. Can somebody Google what engine they're using? I wonder if it's their own.
You'll become used to such scenes during the early hours of venturing through the fictional European nation of Hedea, circa an alternate 1990s. It's a country ravaged by civil war that has cut itself off from the rest of the world, and the place that main character Remy fled as a child. Fast forward years later and he's back in his homeland, having smuggled himself over the border in search of the parents who sent him off for a better life. The first step of the mystery brings me to a lonely farmhouse, the basement of which the owner now calls home. Through conversation about my father and the larger conflict at play, I'm able to pull on a thread that eventually reveals the village of Jova as his last known location.
So just that investigation screen. Who are you, village of Jova? Do you know where the village of Jova is located? APC, where can I find the APC? I am them in the trees so my sons would stop getting lost when they were children. Sethris, bless their souls. The gate to enter the woods is locked. Here, take this key to unlock it. Interesting. Okay.
To pull on a thread that eventually reveals the village of Jova as his last known location. Hell Is Us wants you to take your time talking to people and investigating every avenue of conversation. Indeed, being a wandering detective appears to be as much a part of its gameplay as its punishing combat. More of that in a bit. It forces you to observe its world and the people trapped in it. You are deprived of map markers, waypoints, and, thanks to that 90s setting, a mobile phone. Instead of those tools, you are reliant on direction and clues given by mouth or read on scattered notes.
Once in the woods, follow the wind chimes. They will lead the way through.
In order to reach Jova, I'll need a vehicle, and it just so happens that a military APC is parked nearby. Retrieving its engine's lost key appears a simple fetch quest at first, but Hell Is Us's emphasis on investigation means this task quickly reveals itself to be a much more complex problem. I talk to a wounded soldier who gives me rough directions through a forest, which in turn leads me to a puzzle where I need to match symbols on a door using a contraption. The gateway unlocked, I then delve deep into the tomb inside, and this is where things get weird. During a conversation at Gamescom 2024, creative director Jonathan Jacques Bellatet revealed to me the influence that Annihilation plays on Hell Is Us. The team has been inspired not just by the visuals of Alex Garland's striking 2018 film, but also the overall off-kilter tone of Jeff Vandermeer's trilogy of novels it's based on. It can be heard in the unsettling score that soundtracks Hedea, filled with droning, stuttering electronics and twinkling otherworldliness, but becomes much more evident when you're face to face with enemies. The basic foes take the form of milky white humanoids that move slowly yet menacingly, echoing images from the finale of Garland's movie. Others are much more developed quadrupeds that possess blades for limbs that slice at you if you get too close. I couldn't help but think of the necromorphs that haunt Dead Space corridors when I face them. But the horrors don't end there. In fact, they're hidden around every tight corner and in every open field. This is best exemplified near the end of my demo as I venture far too near a giant shimmering blob of spiking goo and wavy ribbing. It's a hard thing to try and describe.
Wavy ribbing. That was not on my bingo card for this video. But it's a good description of that thing. I appreciate
in words, and in turn, quite unlike anything else I've ever seen. So far, it all sounds very sci-fi horror, but that's just one side of Hell Is Us's coin. Because the way you deal with these threats is thoroughly medieval fantasy. I quickly discover that standard weapons have no effect on them, but thankfully soon receive a glowing white sword that's much more effective. Alongside a standard mix of dodging and blocking, you can slice at enemies with both standard and charged heavy attacks. At its core, it's a relatively basic melee combat system that I found fairly unforgiving at times, though never unfair. But more wrinkles do reveal themselves over time. Recovery items are scarce, so you'll largely be relying on the smart healing pulse system, which is triggered by hitting the right bumper button when a burst of particles emerge from an enemy after hitting them. It encourages aggression when playing, and kept me on the front foot when searching for a health top-up, just as some of my favourite action-heavy games like Control and Doom Eternal do. This doesn't mean you can go in all blades blazing, however, as the length of your stamina bar is directly linked to the amount of health you have left. This means you can only get a hit or two in when near death, before needing to hang back and rest a moment. Should you find yourself in need of a helping hand, you can call upon your drone companion who, among other abilities, can distract enemies while you sneak up on them for a critical hit. This isn't necessarily a stealth game, but it's nice to know the option is there. Alongside special attacks, these systems all combine to create a tense stance in each combat encounter that's a consistent thrill to navigate through, especially when faced with more complex threats. A prime example of such foes are those connected to glowing, pulsating entities that are colour-coded depending on the type of attack they use. For example, the red ones plough into you, whereas the yellow ones attack from range. Deal enough damage to them and they'll retreat into their fleshier counterparts and make them vulnerable. During my
Yeah, it's very, very trippy. I could see how the combat could be a little more simplistic than you might wish, but it does look like there's other additional abilities listed here, so that might add some nuance to it. But it looks like it's one of those combat systems that's mainly about spacing and pivoting and moving.
Damage to them and they'll retreat into their fleshier counterparts and make them vulnerable. During my playtime, I also got my hands on several other weapons too, such as a very cool pair of twin axes that unleashed flurries of charged attacks, and a hulking polearm that delivered slow but heavy hits. The latter seemed an entirely optional find too, unlocked by collecting a series of ancient medallions and slotting them into a side door hidden in the catacombs. It's nice to see the investigation.
Catacombs? Is that how that's said? Oh, that's funny.
Medallions and slotting them into a side door hidden in the catacombs. It's nice to see the investigation side of the game leading to new treasures and
it's okay, I'm 12. I'm 12 years old. It's okay. I'm not mature enough for this.
Cleverly integrated into these open zone areas, rather than just being there to reveal story information. Of course, this combat is what stands between Remy and him being reunited with his father. That connection will remain lost for the time being, however, as upon arriving in Jova, it is revealed that he left town with the global peacekeeping forces. The journey continues, and the next stage of the investigation is underway as I wander around speaking to weary, sometimes dismissive villagers.
Please don't tell anyone I'm here.
There's obviously some deeper mystery at play here too, as alien languages and arresting sci-fi gothic architecture lurk underground, waiting to emerge and reveal their secrets. It's worth noting that Hell Is Us is striking throughout. No coincidence when you consider Jacques Bellatet was the art director of both Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, two games that have stood the test of time incredibly well from a stylistic perspective. It's this willingness to just get a bit weird that makes me so encouraged by what I've played of Hell Is Us. Its 90s setting and appropriate lack of modern technology is not only a vehicle to encourage genuine exploration, but it also feels like a throwback to a decade where games held your hand a little more loosely. I, for one, welcome it, and look forward to seeing where Hell Is Us leads me to next.
I'm liking what I'm seeing. It looks trippy, it looks original, it looks weird. I'm intrigued.
Mother always said monsters didn't exist. I thought they lived under my bed. We were both wrong. They live inside our heads.
For more Hell Is Us, check out the latest gameplay trailer, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
Yeah, it's very weird, very, very different. But I do like the blending of like the really trippy stuff mixed with the sci-fi stuff mixed with medieval gothic stuff. Like it's just such a weird melding of different things. But I like it. You know? I like it. Yeah, again, I'm not familiar with the studio or anything, but it does seem interesting to me. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it. Oh, wait. Oh, this is interesting. I don't know, Jacob, if you want to tack this on to the end of the Death Stranding 2 segment, or if you want to do it as its own thing, but here we are. This is brand new. I did not see this before. This is interesting. Hideo Kojima says that Death Stranding 2 is only 30 to 40% complete. Huh. In an appearance at Tokyo Game Show, Kojima talked about the franchise, including where things stand in the upcoming sequel. He told the gathered crowd that the game isn't even halfway done, but didn't show concern about it. Some of the work that needs to be done includes re-recording all of the dialogue for the game in Japanese for localization. Okay. He then reiterated that the game will still release in 2025 as planned. Quote, as I haven't said the release date today, but the release date has already been decided. I'm currently working on it in preparation for that. He added that while the date will be announced next year, quote, unforeseen circumstances, end quote, prevent it from being revealed sooner. That's interesting. And that's it. I mean, it's still very interesting. Only 30 to 40% complete. That's not as much as I would have thought. Like, you know, I would have thought if it's coming next year, I mean, I always assume like later next year, but maybe like August, September, something like that. Even if we say November, December, that still is very early. That's still very, very early. You know, I don't know. That's surprising. That's surprising. Maybe I don't know if that refers to the content of the game. Like they're only 30, 40% of the way done with the content of the game. And then they still have marketing. They still have all that stuff. Or maybe this total includes like marketing, meaning like when it gets to 100, the game is launching. Whereas a lot of other studios, you know, it's like, no, the game is feature complete. It's content complete. We're just polishing for the next like however long. I don't know. It's that, but that's surprising, is it not? 30 to 40% on? I'm not sure. We'll keep an eye on it though. Because we're going to find out more, but I'm guessing it's not going to be till early next year, probably like March or April when they do another state of play or something. We'll find out more. Because when he's ready to show stuff, PlayStation's going to want to put that like front and center, especially if it's PS5 Pro enhanced. That's going to go a long way for them, I think. Okay, let me catch up on all this stuff real quick. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Chunky Monkey for subbing with Prime, YSI, or YSL, I think. Maddie, thank you for subbing over on Twitch as well. Appreciate you. Let's see. Cosmonaut, thank you for that. Hi, Luke, longtime fan from Georgia. Have you played Divinity 2, and how did you feel about it? Oh, yeah, I played Divinity Original Sin 2 with my best buddy Caleb, my wife at the time. I don't think we were even engaged when we played that, but played it with my now wife as well in co-op. It was awesome. It was great. Yeah, I love it. Let me continue. Let's see, where did I leave off over here? Yeah, Banana Blitz. Her dad is an assassin. What? Yeah, dude, for real. So she was raised by rich dad, lost dad, missed her rich lifestyle, realized she was rich, so she wants to fight the rich to get rich again. Please no. Yeah, but she's ethical about it. Don't you know? She's ethical about it, which makes it okay. That makes it okay. And don't you know, this cat has claws as well, or this kitty has claws. I'm just saying, if I said that about a character who's female, I'd probably get accused of being like, being I don't even know, sexist or whatever. Like, you can't say that. You can't say that nowadays. You get in trouble. Elijah, thank you for that 5. It's not about what the devs think people want. It's about what they think people should want. The people who want this are quote unquote decent human beings. Yeah, I think one of the things gamers absolutely hate is being like feeling as though developers are talking down to them or lecturing them or whatever else. Like just the condescension, that's the biggest thing. And there have been many studios who treat gamers as though they're all like incel, neckbeard, whatever types. And certainly there are some of those. Let's be honest. But to pretend as though the whole gaming industry is nothing but that is insane. And you can see the games flopping when they treat everybody like that. It's like, yeah, no shocker. Nobody wanted to buy your game because you're calling them like a-holes if they don't like your product, or talentless freaks if they don't like your product. Maybe they just honestly don't think it's very good. And it's not because they have a beard on their neck. It's not because they have this or that or like this or don't like that. Maybe they just don't like the game. Like sometimes it's not about character assassination. Maybe they just honestly don't like the product. Because guess what? If you have a good product, it seems like games that are good do well. Novel idea, right? It's almost like if you just make a good game, people will buy it and play it. But if you talk down to people and your game is bad, yeah, you're not gonna have a good time. It's gonna go bad. Let's see. JKS Guy Code, thank you for that. Re-upping your membership. We need to be wary of the ex-founders as well, because they thought this was a good idea of a game to make a live service game. Yeah, and the reporting from Jason Schreier is that they, according to people who Jason spoke to, it sounded like they were actively involved in like what did he say, perfectionist behaviors. So they kept developing stuff, and then when they didn't like it, they would just can it. Then they work on something, and then he'd can it again. So like the example being the tank thing, the weird, like you have a tank that you can fire in for a little while, and then you drive it into this crowd and it explodes. That was a whole system they had developed where each player could have their own vehicle, but then they realized that wasn't really necessary, didn't really work. And so they canned that as well. There are just many, many things like that where they just didn't know what they were doing, and it kept stacking and stacking and stacking. And then they bailed before they had to deal with any of the blowback, which to me is just like, you're a dick if you do that. Like, you are responsible for building this company into what it is and for this game ending up where it is. And then you're going to bail before there's any blowback so that you don't have to deal with it because it makes you uncomfy. Like, that's real leadership, right? It's literally like the guy from, was it the Costa Concordia? The captain who caused this ship to sink and then bailed on the ship and was like, no, I fell into a life raft accidentally. I didn't mean to. It just happened. It's like, no, you're supposed to go down with the ship. Maybe not down with the ship in that case. It didn't really go down. It just fell over. But you're supposed to stay on this ship at the very least because you're responsible. Fundamentally, like that, it's your duty to get your passengers off and then you can go. In this case, you led this studio straight into an iceberg and then you're like, I'm going to go. And you hopped on the first like boat off the ship to just get away. And it's just, well, I saw an exciting opportunity elsewhere. I don't care. Like, you're still a dick, Oh man. Anyway. That's a whole other thing. Chunky Monkey, do you think they'll still add Deathstroke? Yeah, they're still doing 4 seasons total. So after this, there's one more character, and then I think they walk away. Then they can it. But all this stuff was pretty much already done, is my understanding. So these characters were already done, like, before the game launched. So they would just be sitting on it anyway. So they're at least going to put that out and then move on. I think we probably wait until it's probably right before Christmas is when we get Deathstroke. But then I think it's done. Then they announce the end of support. Where am I? Have you seen the recent 5090 leaks? Are you planning on spending a kidney to upgrade? I don't know how much that's going to be. I would not be surprised if it's the first $2,000 graphics card or consumer grade graphics card. So yeah, I expect it's going to be insanely expensive. As for whether I'll get it, probably, honestly, you guys know me. I love spending money frivolously. But more than anything, it's just I like to put out gameplay footage and to do streams and stuff with like the best possible footage to see games in their best possible light. So that's at least the excuse I use for justifying it. But also, to be fair, like this computer was part of a sponsorship deal, so a lot of the time I'm not actually like paying out of pocket for it. So I'm very, very spoiled. I want everybody to know that. Okay. Let's be perfectly honest. Yeah, George, exactly, bro. Be honest. You'll get given it through sponsors. Yeah, to be perfectly clear, I am not a common use case or a common case for this type of thing. Okay. So just because like you might see a crazy Titus statue, this thing is apparently like $1,500 or something. I did not pay that out of pocket. I would not recommend that a normal human being buy a $1,500 statue. That seems insane. Okay, but they sent this to me for free, so naturally I was like, sure, send it to me. Who cares? I care, I guess, but don't assume that like we're just spending money like crazy. But actually, most of the stuff you see in here, except for, well, this was a Christmas present. This is 3D printed, so I guess I did do that. But most of this stuff that you see were either gifts or like sponsorship things, like the Liza P thing. I did buy the Last of Us Collector's Edition. I think I did buy this one. The God of War, I don't remember if they sent that or if I bought that. Cyberpunk, I think I bought that one. These were gifts, except for the Order 1886 one. That was a gift. Orlog was a gift. So there's just, it's a mixture of things. Oh yeah, and then the candles. The candles I did absolutely spend all that money for. Yes. If you're wondering what those are all candles. I have a problem. If you have not seen the studio tour recently, then yeah, go watch that. Lego Hogwarts. Yeah, it was a Christmas present from my buddy Caleb, like maybe 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, something like that. It would have been in the old house, in the old apartment, so probably 4 years ago, I think. Yeah. Dumbest gaming related thing you've bought. Dumbest gaming. I mean, I literally have a Series S and a expansion like SSD just sitting on the floor. So I don't need these. So that's probably the dumbest thing I've bought recently. I mean, not super recently. I think that Series S is from like 2021, but you get what I mean. I mean, it's just sitting there literally on the floor. It's a problem. I just don't have a reason to plug it in, you know? No, can't get mad at me. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay. No, that would be Suicide Squad. No, Suicide Squad, I've actually made a lot of money on. Talking about that game. I've technically made more of a profit talking about Suicide Squad's bafflingly stupid decisions than Warner Brothers made on that entire game. So technically that was a good investment for me. So I'm going to take it. Yeah. Yeah. Still paid for it though? Yeah. Yeah, technically. Yeah. But if I made a single dollar, so if I paid what, $70 for the game when it launched. So if I make a total of $71 and I just have $1 profit through all of that, I have technically made an undefined amount more than Warner Brothers on Suicide Squad, because they lost $200 million. They're negative $200 million. And I'm positive even just one. So I'm what, 200 million times more profitable? It's like, they could have just given me $199 million and I could have told them that I was going to lose money and then they'd still be up $1 million. Could have saved so much time. It is really funny when you think about that. Like if they had gone and hired like consultants to come in and say, do not release this, you will lose so much money, cut your losses now and do something else. Even if they had spent all these years and $100 million on the game and they paid those consultants $1 million to tell them that, they still would have saved $100 million. That's insane. That's crazy. But that's how it works, you know? They did, though. No, just ignored the advice. No, George, maybe there's reporting. If you do know of any reporting, let me know. But as far as I'm aware, there were no reports or leaks of any like consultancy from like YouTubers, streamers, from journalists. Like there was no outside consulting on quality. They brought people in to consult on like story, to tell them how to write the story, and we know how that ended. But as far as I'm aware, they did not bring people in to be like, do you think this is worth pursuing? They just did it. Maybe there is reporting on that, but I don't know. Toxic positivity. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that's absolutely part of it, Syntax. They didn't want to entertain any critical feedback, which should be a red flag. I mean, studios, and I'll give Bungie credit for this. There's reporting that Bungie has been doing play tests with like content creators and streamers. To be very clear, I'm not one of them. I don't think my feedback would be particularly useful because I don't play those types of games anyways. But there's been reporting that they've been doing play tests with streamers and YouTubers and people that play those types of games. And they are actively looking for critical feedback to fix the game and improve it. And that's what you want. That's what you'd like to hear. BioWare also was doing that. Even years ago, BioWare was apparently bringing people in. I don't think it's been made like uber public, but I know people that like worked and helped consult on Dragon Age the Veilguard, providing some tough critiques even years ago. So when you hear that type of thing is happening, it's like, okay, you're trying to avoid mistakes, avoid pitfalls, and deal with those problems before they rear their ugly heads. That's what you want to hear, because at least they're willing to hear out negative feedback. It's the people that stick their heads in the ground where you have problems. And that's like, you know, Saints Row reboot, Suicide Squad, Concord. Apparently in those studios, you just weren't allowed to be like, I don't like this. I think this is bad. You just couldn't. Which is unfortunate. Anyway, you ready? Let's look at this one. 2 days ago. News segment. 2 days ago from 2 days ago from IGN. Why Larian said goodbye to Baldur's Gate 3. In case you're not aware, somehow Larian not doing Baldur's Gate 4. They're not doing an expansion. They're not doing DLC. They are moving on. And it's kind of frustrating because a lot of people are like, Baldur's Gate 3 was amazing. Why would you walk away? Why wouldn't you do more? Like, it's going to print money. Sure. But Wizards of the Coast is taking like 30%. I don't know exactly how much they're taking, but they're taking a pretty big cut just because they own the license for Dungeons and Dragons and Baldur's Gate in general. And so like there's a lot of reasons why they would want to move on, because they wouldn't actually make that much compared to what you might expect. Having said that too, I think that there's maybe a desire to do something fresh, something different. I'm sure that's a part of the consideration as well. But more than anything, they've just decided to move on. And I find it a bold and admirable choice. As much as I love Baldur's Gate 3, I understand why they made that choice, and I can appreciate. But in this video, they go through why they made those choices.
In July of 2023, Baldur's Gate 3 was hardly a blip on most people's radar. When it was released 1 month later, it became many people's Game of the Year, if not the generation.
And the Game of the Year is Baldur's Gate 3.
Now, the game has celebrated its 1 year anniversary. Its 7th major patch added official modding support and new endings to the game. And developer Larian Studios launched a brand new YouTube channel to provide behind the scenes looks at the game and its developers. Between its critical acclaim, numerous awards, and financial success, Baldur's Gate 3 is worth celebrating. But its meteoric rise to success was just as surprising to the developers at Larian as it was to the rest of the gaming community. Game director Sven Vinker.
They're so funny. I do think it's important to remember that this was not expected to be the smash success that it was, both commercially and then critically. Like, I had been in early access with them for ages, as I'm sure many of you guys were as well. Kind because they opened it up. They wanted player feedback. They wanted to see it. And I loved Divinity Original Sin 2 back in the day. And so I already was eating up Larian stuff. But I don't think anybody expected it to pop off as much as it did. There were a few reasons for it. There was the viral story about, you know, how you could like have sex with a bear, and people thought that was crazy. And so that went viral. I do wonder if if that story broke today, even just like, you know, a year later, if they would have been accused of like being like apologists for like bestiality or something, because it's such an insane story. But there were so many, you know, it feels like you can't do anything wacky in games anymore without being canceled. But I do wonder what exactly caused it to pop off. And I think part of it was like the virality. I think the idea that you could do anything, and there were all these viral clips of people coming up with wacky solutions to things. That was really exciting to people because it made them feel like, oh, I should try something insane. I should try to push this or do this, or, you know, I think that was exciting and it was intriguing. It was interesting. Because I remember seeing a clip of somebody that did they found the whatever, I forget what weapon it is, but it's a weapon that specifically does higher damage based on the amount of gold that's in the target's inventory. So people were going stealth mode. They were popping potions of invisibility, pickpocketing into somebody like a big boss's pocket, dropping tons of gold into their inventory, and then aggroing them, attacking them, and it would deal like 300 damage because it was just multiplied by the amount of gold that they just had reverse pickpocketed into their inventory. Super clever idea, but it worked. It's brilliant. Fantastic. Even now I'm seeing clips of people that put like tons of oils and fire, I forget what they're called, whatever fire potions or vials. And they put them in a backpack, and then they throw the backpack next to the boss, and then they ignite the bag after it breaks, and that illuminates, or that ignites all of the bombs, and it goes off and it one-shots all these bosses. Tons of creative ideas like that are just intriguing and exciting. And it's like, okay, I wonder what I could come up with if I could come up with a wacky solution. I think that that's something that's just sorely needed in the games industry, because so many games right now lack gameplay complexity and nuance in the pursuit of keeping like casual quote unquote players happy. But again, I think it's born out of a false premise, which is that gamers need their hands held. Even casual gamers. And I don't think that's true. I think you'll hear some people complain if a game is more difficult, sure. But I think games like Elden Ring, games like Baldur's Gate, they should tell these big publishers and developers, you don't have to hold people's hands. If anything, gamers like it more when you don't. When you trust them. Like, I think they connect with that more. So I think that the premise of like you need to hold everybody's hands and have big yellow splotches of paint everywhere to tell people where to go, that is probably a false premise.
Thought at every single point the game's success was going to stop. I remember arguing with our director of publishing, who said this is going to sell a lot. I said that's impossible. The number you're saying is just not possible. Despite months of patches and media attention on Baldur's Gate 3, Larian is already hard at work on its next project, and while we don't know exactly what that is, we know it isn't Baldur's Gate 4. In March, Vinka announced the studio's plans to end its partnership with Wizards of the Coast, meaning Larian won't be making DLC or a sequel to their critical success. Several months after this announcement, Vinka says the folks at Larian have no regrets about the decision. We actually decided this only at Christmas. We were working on stuff, but our hearts weren't as much in it. Probably because we spent so much time already in it. So it was time for us to do new things, and ever since, we felt better. We got our developer joy back, and that's the prime thing, right? If you don't have that, you can't make anything good.
Which is absolutely true. You gotta be passionate. You can sense when a studio's not passionate about what they're doing. You can smell it, you know? You just know. You can get a feel for it. You just didn't... You were phoning it in here. You guys really didn't like it. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Everybody in chat saying, BGS, Ubisoft, all like, there's plenty of examples, I think, of companies where you can tell the devs are just going through the motions. Or they might have had parts of the thing they were making that they were passionate about, but then they were forced to do other stuff that they really didn't want to do, you know? And that's something I can attest to, where I've heard stories of people that work at Ubisoft, people that work at Activision, people that work at various companies, EA, Respawn specifically, who have things they love about what they're working on. They're very, very passionate about it, very excited for gamers to see what they're doing. But then they get the message from on high that like, oh, you gotta now prep the in-game store, you gotta do the XP boost, you gotta do this, gotta do that. And they don't want to do it, but they have to. It's their job. They can't say no. Like if they say no, what's gonna happen? They're gonna get fired and somebody else will put it in. So, okay, I guess we're doing XP boosts now. And that just sucks the joy out of the development process. And you can see it. But on the flip side, you can see when a studio is really passionate about what they're doing. You get a feeling for it. It's one of the most interesting things about watching those developer diaries on like Phantom Liberty, for example, where the whole Cyberpunk team, you can get a feel that they are just so excited to win people over. They're so excited to show like, no, Cyberpunk 2077 was a fluke. You should be able to trust us, and we're going to show you why. And they work their asses off to prove that point. So passion's one of those incorporeal things. It's not tangible, but you know it when you see it, and you also know when it's not there. You really do.
Only natural that after spending 6 years working on the game, Larian isn't as enthusiastic about Baldur's Gate 3 as it once was. But back in 2017, that exact enthusiasm was what led Vinka to pursue the project to begin with. The original Baldur's Gate games are hailed as BioWare classics from the late 90s and early 2000s, and after decades without a new entry, Larian saw itself as a developer fit to continue the legacy. Wizards of the Coast, which owns the Baldur's Gate IP, agreed to a pitch meeting, but the presentation's date was, ironically, set for the same day as the release date for Larian's then upcoming title, Divinity Original Sin 2. According to Vinka, the time crunch led to a subpar presentation. That was the best that we could do. Wizards of the Coast said, this is not very good. We said, we know, give us more time. And then they gave us more time. Thankfully, the following presentation went much better, and the studio was given the green light. So, after shipping the definitive edition of Divinity Original Sin 2, Larian focused all of its efforts on making Baldur's Gate 3. The game entered early access in 2020. Just like with Divinity Original Sin 2, the early access model allowed Larian to refine the gameplay experience with player feedback. But Vinka is unsure whether Larian will follow the same procedure for future games. I think it has a tremendous amount of benefits, but every game has its own structure, its own language, so I think you need to judge that game by game.
Sure. I'd be surprised if they did early access like 3 years ahead of time now, because I feel like they've got the cash they need. I don't think they need the cash from early access to bankroll their operations. I think they're fine. So then it's just a matter of its benefit in the gameplay design department, which might be significant, but it's also, I don't think that necessary. What I will say though is I fully expect that Wizards of the Coast, they're not going to just sit on the IP. I don't think they're sitting on it. I think we're going to see like Baldur's Gate 4 from some studio you might not have ever heard of. And it's probably not going to be very good. I think after the amazing success of Baldur's Gate 3, Wizards of the Coast is probably contacting other studios that are trying, and they're like, we'll give you the IP. Can you just do something kind of like that? And maybe, what is it? Owlcat? Is that the name of the studio? The guys that did Rogue Trader. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe they give like them the IP and they just do another CRPG. They might actually do a really good job. Or they give it to somebody, like, I honestly don't think Ubisoft would take it because I don't think they want to do any licensed stuff right now. Same with EA. I don't think they do it, but they might go and do it from some other, random studio. Because Wizards of the Coast, if you don't know and you haven't followed like the whole thing going on right now with D&D, it's like, it's pretty bad. It's pretty slimy what they're doing. Just to show you, let me pull up the website here. So what they did is they used to have it so if you wanted to buy like a book to do like a campaign in. So like say you wanted assets from this. You could buy like the one monster from the book that you needed. So like, oh, I need this monster that's in this book, or I needed this item that's in that book. You could just buy for $2 that specific data sheet, support the designers in that way, and you get what you need. And it all works on this one platform together. They've completely redone it now in the most cash grabby way possible, where they remove the ability to do that at all. You have to buy the entire $30, $40 book. There are no bundles anymore, so you can't buy the whole legendary collection of every book. Everything is broken up into these $30 little chunks that you have to buy separately. To buy everything that you need to just do a comprehensive D&D campaign with all the monsters, everything, it's like $2,000. It's insane. It's crazy. It's just insulting. It's insulting. So this is what they've been doing, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse over the last like 2 years, to the point where it's driven a lot of players away from D&D Beyond fully. It's just not worth the trouble. Like if you want to run a campaign and have your party make their character in here, unless you've spent that $2,000 and shared your assets with those players, which you can do if you create a campaign in the campaign like tab thing that they have. You just like, oh, you can't play as a monk now. Oh, you can't use this item. You can't apply this axe. You can't do that. Like it's just broken unless you throw literally thousands of dollars at them. It's insane. And this used to be a game, you know, about freedom of the player and exploration. Now it's monetized out the ass. So I don't think that the guys that are doing this are going to all of a sudden be like, okay, well, we're going to wait until the right studio comes along for Baldur's Gate 4. I don't think they're doing that. I think they're going to try to cash in. That's my guess. Maybe I'm just being cynical, but I've been burned so bad by Wizards of the Coast recently. I just don't believe them doing the right thing ever.
In this case, players had plenty of feedback for Baldur's Gate 3, and Larian had to course correct on quite a few things. In addition to a generally buggy launch, a complaint that would be levied against the game even months after its 1.0 release, fundamental pieces of the story and mechanics were completely reworked. There were complaints about the past tense framing of the game's opening sequence, struggles with implementing the Dungeons & Dragons rule set, and general comments that it was too similar to their previous game. But the early access model ended up working quite well, helping Larian to figure out how people wanted to play Baldur's Gate 3. For the following 3 years, Larian would constantly update and expand the content in their early access release, in addition to developing the latter 2 acts of the game. These updates often included adjustments to dialogue and story, which meant actors and voiceover artists frequently returned to the recording studio.
He was so good as Ketherick too.
Tore through their home like a thief. Do you understand?
Vinka and the rest of the writing team changed the script continuously, fine-tuning the plot, making everything flow more naturally, and adding more instances where the game could react to player behaviour. Of course, no one is more impacted by script rewrites than the actors themselves. Devora Wild, the actress who portrays Lae'zel, remembers being glad for the extra work. I felt very lucky in the beginning to, as an actor, have a job for such a long period of time. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have a job for 2 years. Due to delays in development, those 2 years would stretch to 4. Meaning Wild spent a considerable amount of time in Lae'zel's virtual shoes, and a considerable amount of time with a recurring gig.
You've a sharp tongue, elf. Would that your mind proved its equal.
Baldur's Gate 3 finally launched on August the 3rd, 2023, but Wild didn't feel the full impact the game would have for a few weeks.
Shit, never mind. Yeah, he does need to learn the hard way. Get him! There we go.
Between her TikTok posts and a video of the cast reading thirsty tweets,
why would you want to get f***ed by a bear?
There was a considerable amount of online traction, but she didn't comprehend the physical size of the fanbase until MCM London Comic Con. Jennifer English, who plays Shadowheart in the game, felt the same way. I'd gone to London Comic Con when the game was in early access, and I remember being really quite honoured that I had 10 people in my queue. I think I'd made my rent that weekend, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. When she came back the following year, her lines had grown to 6-hour wait times, and the cast needed security detail to handle the number of people stopping them on the show floor. Part of this boom in popularity has to do with the actors and their willingness to promote themselves and the game on social media. Popular games are released all the time, but it's not common for the actors behind video game characters to be thrust into the spotlight.
Someone asked if...
Yeah, it's refreshing to see it too, especially when you hear other stories like Stephen Ong, the guy that played Trevor in GTA 5, and he's just like a total a-hole to anybody who like knows him as Trevor. It's like, it's a cartoon character. What are you talking about? Like he's doing, we've talked about it before, but he does like all of those cameos and then like mocks his own fans for trying to hire him to send him a message. It's really, really cringe, honestly, but it's refreshing to see actors that are passionate about their work and are just glad to interact with the fan base.
You mocapped the jump, the twirl onto the ground.
I wish. I did not mocap the jump, no.
While it wasn't Larian's suggestion that the cast begin engaging with memes on social media, Wild shares that Larian's encouragement of the situation has a lot to do with their ultimate success.
OnlyFans. Coming soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Whatever that means.
Larian was just gracious enough and fun-loving enough to be like, you know what, we're just going to let them run with it. Many other companies don't allow actors to do that actually, and I think that Larian really embraces the spirit of let the actors just kind of get on with it. In addition to the influx of followers, English says that the online community's response to Shadowheart has made her more fond of the role. Despite initially not liking the character, she says, "The stuff that players like in Shadowheart is kind of the stuff I like about myself, and that fans have latched on to parts of the character that she hadn't even consciously portrayed."
I wanted to thank you again for freeing me.
Meanwhile, Wild was surprised Lizelle was so polarizing at first, with many fans being turned away by her standoffish attitude.
Yeah, I've never finished a campaign with her, I don't think. I just find her annoying. I know that's going to trigger some people, but it's just, I don't need her. Plus, my playstyle usually like is confronting to hers, so usually I just don't need her. I often let her die. It's a whole thing.
The tadpole hasn't yet scrambled all your senses. Auspicious.
Though that attitude
Take that
eventually
back.
softened.
How dare you.
She says, "I was getting a lot of delayed responses. Even now, where people are like, oh, you know what? On my third playthrough, I gave her a chance, and now I love her." Alongside Aliona Baranova, one of Baldur's Gate 3's motion capture directors and English's girlfriend, the actors have cultivated a following that has become separate from the game altogether.
Hey, you lot! I'm going nowhere!
This includes a line of merch, with t-shirts referencing Wild's love of ranch dressing, and inside jokes suggesting the three of them are God's favourite throuple. The latter shirt references a meme of Shadowheart calling herself God's favourite princess, which English recreated per her girlfriend's suggestion. In fact, English credits her chronically online girlfriend Baranova for her social media successes, as English says it has never been something she has partaken in. Between her personal life, her professional life, and her self-image, Baldur's Gate 3 has had a profound impact on English. It does not feel like a year, and yet life has completely changed.
It has basically, I mean, it is crazy. It's been like a year, and already Baldur's Gate 3 is like a staple in the industry. It's crazy. I do think it was like a little weird that we spent like a full minute just scrolling through her merch store. Is that not like a little? I was like, I'm glad they got merch. That's cool, but it's like a little odd to just be like, shirts, all the shirts.
English isn't alone in that feeling. Baldur's Gate 3 has had a tremendous effect on everyone at Larian. In the months following its release, it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, the Golden Joystick Awards, the DICE Awards, the GDC Awards, and the BAFTAs.
Thank you so much.
Not to mention a slew of other awards for narrative and performance, including the second ever Hugo Award bestowed upon a video game. It has a staggering 96 on Metacritic, and has been hailed as one of the greatest role-playing games of all time.
Baldur's Gate 3 is just about everything I could have asked for.
In the face of this monumental impact, Larian's goals as a studio remain remarkably humble. Art director Joaquin Valimchek shared, "All of this success means there are high expectations of what's next. We are playing it cool as always, and we are not letting the success blind us to the amount of hard work it took to get here." Valimchek's fellow art director Elena Dobrovnia says, "In practice, not much has changed. We are still hard-working bees ready for new adventures. The quality bar was set high by BG3, so we are wrapping our heads around how to raise it even higher. The idea of raising a bar past Baldur's Gate 3 sounds absurd, but game director Vinka has nitpicks with the game even now. He wishes the encounter at the entrance to the Grove in Act 1 wasn't so much of a bottleneck, for example, claiming that they could have continued for years tweaking it. While their future game is sure to present plenty of unseen challenges, the nitpicks and unforeseen hurdles in the past projects will allow Larian to evolve for future ones. BG3 was a game that was at a scale that was new to us, so we learned a lot about dealing with scale. We learned a lot from what we didn't have, and we're trying to have that now so that we do not make the same mistakes. We're in the luxurious position now that we can pick our own destiny and our own path, which is really cool. So I hope that we can sustain that. I have two main goals for the studio, being able to make things that we like to make, and making sure that it's sustainable so we can continue doing so. This philosophy is directly opposed to much of what we see in the current gaming landscape. Between acquisitions, layoffs, crunching, and executives chasing infinite exponential growth, it's a breath of fresh air to hear about a developer settling for a stable working environment.
Yeah, and I think it's important that they're not like trying to just cash out, sell to Microsoft for $1 billion, and then move on. Like, if Sven wanted to do that, he could. Probably not for $1 billion, maybe for like $400-500 million or whatever. I think he could easily get that. But, you know, if he wanted to just go sail away on his big ship and, you know, buy a yacht, whatever, he could do that. He could do that. But he's not. And I think that's admirable. I think that's admirable. And it's why they're going to be able to continue doing what they want to do. Because when you have an obligation to then make the numbers always go up, things change. And it's no longer about what the team is most passionate about. It's not about what creatively challenges you the most. It's about how do you make this number go up more and more and more and more and more. And eventually, to guarantee that, you're going to have to start making choices like, I know we're not super into doing DLC for Baldur's Gate 3, but I think we need to, because we can't pay the bills any other way in the short term, so we got to just do it. You know, and that's when you start to see things sliding, because it's no longer about the passion, it's about the business. So I admire them for keeping it privately held as well. I think that's a big part of it.
Evoke the blade. Then suffer its sting.
Will's another character I like never finish a run with. I also just, he annoys me. I think he's the least popular
Baldur's Gate 3
character
is one
too.
of the best games of all time, in large part because of the personal, handcrafted nature evident in its design. 1 year after the game's launch, it's nice to see that the people responsible for that product are excited about what's to come and satisfied with the work that they've done. For more on Baldur's Gate 3...
So good. It's so good. So, yeah, they're staying passionate. They're not trying to chase the trends. They're not trying to chase the dollars. And I think that is very admirable. That's what I'm hoping to see them continue. I hope that they don't lose sight of that passion. They keep it up. If so, we're in for a treat with whatever comes next. Let's catch up on these real quick. Thank you, everybody, for this. Let me see. Shiro, thank you for the 5. Did you see the TGS clip of the Dragon Quest creator trying to understand Western censorship and why an outfit had to be changed? I did not see that. That sounds funny, though. I'm going to Google that after the stream and watch it, because that sounds like really funny if they're trying to explain it to him and he's just like, I don't understand. What are you talking about? Bender, the Offender, thank you for the 10. Did you see that Asmongold reacted to a video showing the similarities between Astrobot and Mario games? Makes you wonder if Nintendo would try anything against Sony. I did not see any reaction or that video. I've heard people compare the two because it's pretty clear. I mean, they're 3D platformers. They're in the same vein. Nintendo, though, they just play so dirty. They like trademark and patent gameplay mechanics just to keep people from making similar games, like Pokemon, for example. They just did that with Pal World. So it's just slimy. Like, Nintendo's one of those companies. We should all agree that they are like pretty like disgusting in how they approach stuff, but they get away with it because they make fun, silly games. You know, it's it's crazy. But the way Nintendo handles this stuff, like, I haven't seen anybody defend it, and nobody should defend it. Like, suing companies for making games that are roughly inspired or even directly inspired by your stuff, it's just unhealthy for the industry, I think. In the same way, you got to call out Warner Brothers for patenting the Nemesis system. That's the only reason we haven't seen the Nemesis system in any other games, is because they patented it. Even though it's like one of the most interesting gameplay innovations of the whole PS4, Xbox One era, they patented it, and so it got locked down. I guess technically it was 2013, so it might have been the 360 PS3 era, actually. But you get what I mean. Huge gameplay innovation. They patent it, so you can't do anything with it. Sucks ass. Sucks ass. HP217, thank you for the super chat. Do you know about ArtStation site? Black Myth Wukong character artists have uploaded their works for the game. It's so good. I think I've heard of ArtStation. I haven't seen the artists work on the game that they posted there, but I could also Google that. I appreciate good art. That guy, thank you for that super chat. Poop emoji indeed. Blake, thank you for the 2. Did you see the realistic graphics mods for Cyberpunk 2077? Yeah, dude, they're insane. That game looks crazy by itself, but then with mods, it's ridiculous. Corey, thank you for the 5. Speaking of losses, Rip Simpsons tapped out. I spent so much money on that game, or too much money on that game. Yeah, they're shutting down service. I saw the article on it. It's a little surreal, but yeah, that game's been around for like 12 years or something, and they're walking away from it. I do, I mean, on the one hand, I feel bad for people that spend a lot of money in that game because it's all gone, but also, like, I don't, because it's like microtransactions in a mobile game, so I also don't feel that bad. So it's a complicated feeling. It's a complicated feeling, I'll tell you what. Banana, thank you for the 5. I got everyone to be super nice. Everyone loved me. Gale became a jerk, though, because I built him up. I thought I was being a good friend. He's a cocky little prick. Tell you what, but he's still fun to have around. Samuel, thank you for the 5. BG3 is fun. Took me a long time to figure out the D&D rules and mechanics, but any more general tips would be awesome. Yeah, if you want to see wacky stuff, go watch Luality. She does all sorts of streams, and she was in chat the other day, I think on Friday as well. But she does all sorts of crazy, cool little challenge runs where she tries different modifiers and stuff. You'll learn a lot about the game by watching those types of players play it and show you how to do it. It's pretty cool. Why not on stream? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Dark Spider David. Why not on stream? I'm spacing what you would have been talking about when you said that. Why not? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I got to the message too late. Watch that video. Which video? Oh, the video. Are you talking about the Asmongold thing? Well, if somebody, like, I don't want to do a reaction to the reaction. If somebody knows the actual video that he was looking at, we could look at the original video, but I don't want to do like reactception. Or are you talking about the video of the, oh, you're talking about the video of the guy at Tokyo Game Show? Does anyone know what the video itself is called? I can just Google Dragon Quest creator trying to understand censorship, I guess. Dragon Quest creator. Dragon Quest creator trying to understand Western censorship. Let's just see if we can find it. Oh, posts of it are getting taken down on Reddit? What? Rule 6. What's Rule 6? Not original source, website screenshots. Oh. Hold on. Okay, so somebody quoted it, though. Doing business with a ridiculous country like this is such a hassle. Coming from this, Japan gets negatively influenced as well. Later in the interview, the controversial change to remove the gendered language from the remake was brought up, in which the game removed male and female pronouns and replaced them with appearance A, appearance B instead. Quote, in Dragon Quest, you used to be able to choose between a male and female protagonist, Tori said. but now you can't choose between a man and a woman anymore. He added, we have to call them type 1 and type 2. I truly wonder who is even complaining about this. Yeah, why the terms male and female became so problematic beyond the US and their gender issues concerning the rest of the world. I do know the types of people that would complain about it. It's the like terminally online Twitter types, but I do think it's bizarre how it's like swelled beyond these like individual like games like Dustborn, where it's like you're not that surprised to see it, but it's now spilled over into all of these other countries and games and studios. It's a little bizarre because I don't think people generally are like, well, the game looked awesome, but there's, I don't get to choose between option 1 and 2 or A and B, It's like, I don't think anybody's actually doing that. I think hopefully, if anything, all these companies just start to realize like, nope, just because somebody's getting mad at you on X or Twitter does not mean that therefore you have to change everything about how your company operates. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And we saw it with Hogwarts Legacy. I think that's a great example of when they just finally said, no, we don't care if you guys are freaking out. We're good. They just left it. Like, yep, cry us a river. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. Leave it there. And even the head of whatever department was like, yeah, we think it's a very online issue. Which I think is just so funny. Dude, I'm trying to find people talking about Phantom Liberty, or not Phantom Liberty. Ugh, I wish. I'm trying to find people talk about Shattered Space, and I can't find anybody talking about it. Like, even in the official post, it's just the marketing stuff. Oh, Microsoft has started showing a full screen pop-up for Starfield Shattered Space when some people boot up their Xbox consoles. Really? That's funny. That's funny. Like, please check it out, please. Please, I swear to God, you should try it, please. Oh, man. Mr. CEO Kill, thank you for 6 months. Thank you. LOL injected ads. I mean, have you guys seen the new PlayStation ones? I don't know if you've pulled up those things. Have you booted up recently? But I just saw it last night. They've replaced like the background, and now they're doing it with like dynamic ads and stuff. A lot of them don't even make sense. So like Horizon, you want to boot Horizon Zero Dawn? It pops up with a big ad for the Lego game. You want to play Spider-Man Miles Morales? They have weird out-of-date stuff like check out Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse coming soon. It released in June of 23. And this is like global. This is affecting everybody. You can't get it to turn off unless you like disconnect your console from the internet. Play now with early tip-off. It's an ad for early access for the game, which is now a month old. Like, remember when the PS4 had like the themes that you could choose? It was like a pre-order bonus you could get where you get the dynamic theme that plays the music from the game and everything. Maybe themes the icons around it. It was brilliant. It was fancy. This is what PlayStation replaced it with. Ads that you can't turn off that aren't even relevant. For a movie, to get tickets to a movie that released over a year ago. It's insane. Can you disable it? No, you have to disconnect it from the internet to not see them. At least in the US, or more specifically, where I am, and then for all of these people that you can see here outlining this, this is a new thing they're pushing. Yeah, PlayStation 5 now has an advert system built into the dashboard user interface you can't disable without disconnecting from the internet. Users noticed how hovering over a video game icon on the homepage now forces an advert to replace unique art as close to a theme as the PS5 gets. What appears to be happening is the PS5 is pulling in the latest news for each game, whether it be a YouTube video, patch notes, or even the announcement of a different game entirely. However, some users have criticized the move. I mean, everybody's criticizing it because it's terrible. IGN's testing shows that the latest promotional Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 video released by publisher Focus Entertainment has replaced the art of protagonist Titus in the background. Black Myth Wukong now just has a patch note post. Call of Duty promotes Haunting update for season 6 again, and then there's these. Imagine spending $700 on a console with no disc drive and it has unskippable ads. Yeah, it's just, this is what happens when a company starts to get comfy. Telling you what, the story for Sony throughout their entire history of running PlayStation has been, they get ahead, they get comfy, they do stupid stuff until they start to slip back and people get upset, and then they run ahead because they start doing good stuff again, and then they get comfy and cocky and start doing stupid stuff, and that's just how it always goes. They just yo-yo back and forth. And I think we're seeing, like, we're in the middle of them getting too cocky. We see it with the live service stuff, we see it with the pricing models of all of this stuff, we see it with the poor lineup for the PlayStation 5 console so far. And yeah, I know we've got some stuff coming eventually. That's true. But we are over halfway through this generation. And like the biggest games of this generation have been cross-generational. You know, like it's crazy. It's like, well, we got God of War Ragnarok. Yep, that was cross-generational. You play that on PS4 too. Oops. It's a little weird. Phantom Blade Zero come out. I don't know if they've actually said. I don't know. When I played it back in June, it was very polished. It was very good. I liked it. Okay. Let's see. OS9, thank you for that. Hi, Luke. Wanted to remind you about a video I wanted you to react to called Concord Prove This is the Worst Thing Gamers Say. Concord Prove This is the Worst Thing Gamers Say. Why isn't it? Let's see. Yeah, we can double check it. Let me, I'll add it to the browser. And tomorrow we're going to be playing some Suicide Squad. So I imagine we will probably have time to check this out too in between brain melting stuff. So I got that pulled up. We'll double check it because naturally, unless it's like a big creator we know, we just verify stuff before watching it to make sure that it's not like, you know, got something sneaky or nasty in it. But we'll do that. I think we can do that. Thank you for the suggestion. We can check that out. I saw a video of somebody that was like pulling up a video from chat, and it was just straight up porn. And so now I'm like super super anxious, you know, like I don't want to end up in that spot. So we'll just be very, very cautious, very cautious. But again, thank you for the suggestion. OS, I've got it pulled up. We can check that out. Mr. Celia Kill, thank you again for the 6 months. MMO, RPGL, thank you for 12 months. Ooh, a full year. Oh, baby. Any interest in Metaphor ReFantazio? After the demo, it's probably a front runner for me. Yeah, I do think it's a game I will like. Whether we do content on it is a separate question, because those types of games just don't generally tend to connect with my audience. So it's just not something to spend a lot of time on, at least on the channel side of things. I would love it if everybody were super into it, but it's just, they tend to be much more niche. So like, even if they announce like Persona 6 that still would be one that I probably would have to just play in private. It's just, for whatever reason, doesn't really get a lot of views. And this is a business. Like, I gotta pay my team. It's not always what I want. Professor Sequoia, thank you for the 5. Potentially hot take, but Sony being lazy is a direct result of winning the console war. Xbox throwing in the towel makes Sony not try nearly as hard. Well, Professor Sequoia, I think absolutely. Like, when competition has dropped off and they don't need to try hard, they won't. Like, if you can win the race by only doing a, like, kind of brisk walk, why would you sprint? Why would you run? You don't need to. So you'll just walk instead. If no one else is in the race with you and you can get across the finish line by walking, of course you're just going to walk. And that's where Sony is. Like, when they're running, it works great. It's awesome. But that's only when there's someone on their tail that's chasing them down, that's forcing them to. But once they get comfy, they just don't need to try anymore. And you're seeing that right now. That's why, like, even if you're a diehard PlayStation fan, if you don't like the Concord trend, if you don't like that stuff, like, you should be rooting for other studios to be doing well. You should be rooting for, like, EA to put out their best stuff to compete. You should be rooting for Ubisoft to pull it out and to change and become good again. You should be rooting for Microsoft to have some really solid single player games so that Sony has to keep up and can't keep wasting 4 years and billions of dollars on crap. You should really push that. You know. Let's see. Samuel, thank you for that 5. Also stoked Elle Fanning is in Death Stranding 2. What are your thoughts on the gameplay demo? I mean, as I've said, I find Death Stranding to be weirdly relaxing, and I'm interested to see how they tweak it, how they change the flow of things. Most of what they've shown so far is just narrative stuff. I haven't really checked out any gameplay breakdowns that they've shown, because it seems like that's still very much up in the air. But yeah, I'm interested in it, because it's going to be an acid trip. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. Yeah, competition's good. I think so. My bad, not demo, just narrative stuff. Yeah, the narrative stuff, we looked at it earlier on stream, and it's I think it looks insane, but that's Kojima for you. It looks like an actual acid trip, but that's Kojima for you. Let's see. Mr. Maskey, Luke, have you seen the decision of BioWare not to include the choice of old Dragon Age games into Veilguard and make the people that tried the game weeks ago sign an NDA to not talk about it? I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about. I played the game a few weeks ago, and like, you get to put the Inquisitor in the game. It's not like a full import of everything in the game. It seems probably it's going to be like 3 or 4 choices will be relevant, but it's in a different part of the map on purpose, and anybody freaking out about it, I think, is probably looking for something to be upset about. I think the game, from what I played, the game is really solid. So I'm not that interested in the people that are just trying to find things to be pissy about. And then Cool, thank you for that 5. Replaying Dragon Age Inquisition to prep for Dragon Age Veilguard. Can't believe this game won Game of the Year. Boring combat, disjointed story, lame companions. Hope Veilguard's good. Yeah, I'll be real. I've been going back through tidbits of it. Actually, right as the stream died earlier, I had the clips pulled up, and good God Almighty, like, look at this character's hair. Like, this was just a year before The Witcher 3. Look at this. Wait for it. Wait till you see my beard. Just wait. It's insane. Look at that. What is that? What is on his face? Oh my God. It's so bad. Like, granted, a game is not defined by the quality of its beards, but the whole game is kind of like this, where there's just so much jank and weirdness, and the combat's super weird and janky. Harding's poor hairline. She's got a 7 head, not even a 4 head. That's a 7 head right there. Poor Harding. going back to this makes you really appreciate the improvements. Like, it's pretty rough, man. 2014. What a crazy time. I'll tell you what. It's a lot. That's just 10 years ago, man. Yeah, it's yeah. If you played it back in the day and you have like the nostalgia benefit, I think that can make it easier. But going back through it without that makes it pretty rough. It's like, oh my God. Oh, baby. B-Fry 1989. Thank you for subbing with Prime, by the way. Thank you. Because it makes the majority of your choices irrelevant. I mean, when you go from one game to another, not all choices carry forward. Like this, even The Witcher 2, not everything you did carried forward. Witcher 1 to Witcher 2, like even other RPGs you know and love, the choices are limited in how they carry forward. Like in The Witcher 3, they do a simulated save system where you kind of talk to the Emperor's advisor and you say like, oh, we whatever it is, who did you talk to here? What did you do with this guy? Did you do that? And some of it has direct impact. Some of it you'll just hear dialogue reflecting it. But like, this is just how video games work. Like, I'm surprised people are acting shocked by it. Like, yeah, when RPGs come out in different areas of the map a decade later, not every single little bitty choice you made is going to be directly reflected with that person from that side quest all of a sudden is in this game now. Like, no, it's a video game. Okay. Like, again, maybe for you, that's like a total deal breaker. But this seems to be the kickoff of a new trilogy, I guess, is how you could frame it. And so they're tying some things into it, but it's not going to be just like a direct inline sequel. And again, if that's the deal breaker for you, okay, cool. Don't buy it. It's not a deal breaker for me. So there's that. I think The Witcher 3, didn't they just do the simulated save? It's like, it's one of the first things you choose when you're kicking off the game. It's like, you know, you select difficulty, new game difficulty, and then it's like simulate Witcher 2 save. And then you can simulate it by talking to the Emperor's advisor while you get the haircut and the shave and everything. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just refuting the claim that PC has no exclusive. That's quite literally a false claim. I don't know what's even happening, guys. You can also load them. Oh, well, there you go. I know Dragon Age did I forget the name of it. It's like Dragon's Keep or something, the something keep, where you could like directly pull stuff over. And that's super cool. That's super cool. I think they'll probably kickstart that. If Veilguard does well and then they do a sequel to Veilguard, they probably do something similar to that. But this game is trying to start from more of an established foundation and then move on from there. So again, with so much of this stuff, it's like, did you hear about this thing that we're upset about? It's like, maybe not. Is it a big deal for you? Okay, cool. Don't buy the game then. Like, for me, it might also be a big deal. Like, you might not think that the lawless design is that big of a deal. Like the whole like cringe fact that she's an influencer robbing people to get them, show people they don't have to be scared of out of touch elites, which again is the most ironic thing ever. You might not think that this is so cringy that it's going to suck your soul out slowly while playing the game or trying to play the game. For me, like, this is something where I just can't. I can't. But for you, you might have a higher tolerance to it. Cool. More power to you. Awesome. Same thing with that. Like, is that thing for Dragon Age a deal breaker for you? Cool. For me, it's not. You know? Anyway. Yeah, bro is not excited to play tomorrow. Dude, I'm probably going to get an hour in and then my mind's going to be melting and I just can't do it anymore. But, we'll get a video out of it at the very least. Every time they do something like this, I'm just so stunned that this pitch received hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, again, the character's whole premise is that she's like fighting the out of touch elites. The fact that those out of touch elites greenlit this is insane. It's insane. Play something good instead. Oh, I do, but it's also really funny to play awful stuff, and you guys seem to like watching it. So thanks a lot. Jeez. Damn, Luke, I stopped playing Shattered Space because I was yawning and wanted to check your stream to see if I was crazy, and you stopped playing too. LMAO. Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm struggling, dude. I probably am gonna play more of it here when we hop off stream after I get some lunch and check in with the family, and see if I can get anything else out of it. But I'm already like brain fried. So I don't know what else to say. But anyway. We'll leave it there. I'm going to go get some food because I realized I didn't have breakfast and I'm starving. Thank you for watching. Thanks for chilling with me, everybody. You guys are amazing. You guys are fantastic. I love the gosh darn heck out of you guys. Shinobi Pants PlayStation ad nonsense confirmed as a bug. I don't know if they said it's a bug or not. I'm not inclined to believe that was a bug. That seemed like a very intentional thing that they did. But maybe it is a bug and they just haven't said so yet. But I've not heard any confirmation. But until then, thank you, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, rocking and rolling. It's going to be a good time for you, for me, maybe not so much. We'll see. But until next time, my friends, stay safe. Much love. Yeah, 53 nights, even you. Yep, even you. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.